What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of A Bone to Pick. Real quick, want to shout out to Junior Hammond over at Highline Tattoo in the 27th Hour. Thank you for the swag. Make sure you go check out his podcast. I was actually a guest on his show a while ago, but it was absolutely phenomenal. If you haven't seen his studio, go watch his YouTube 27th Hour podcast. It's absolutely amazing. Second shout out to Dre Rocca. To Dre, he's my homie. He gave me the first topic for today. And he's got an amazing gig going on. He's an absolutely beautiful creative. He's got No Hablo de Español on his YouTube. He's got the music video reactions that really help out local artists on his YouTube. And then he's got the Unrestricted podcast and the ISO 20 podcast. So huge shout out to Dre. He actually inspired me to do a bone to pick. So like I said, go check him out. Go check out Junior. And the first thing we're going to talk about today is credit. And let me pull up my notes here. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of myths around credit. I'm not going to get too far into this because I could spend 20 minutes just on credit by itself and nobody wants to listen to me that long. So the first thing we need to understand is what is credit and how does it work? So credit is a risk score, and how it works is lenders will look at your report and your score to determine credit worthiness and lending worthiness. So it's a risk score. It's if I give you money, how likely are you to pay it back? And while past behaviors aren't future predictions, they do give you a good idea, right? Statistically, you can get pretty close to whether somebody's going to pay. So that's the first thing with credit. So now what is credit based on? So credit's based on three main things. There's about five, but the first three are the most important. They take up the biggest chunk of that 100%. The first thing that they do is payment history. So how well are you good at paying? The second thing is how much you owe. That's actually probably the biggest one. And then the third thing is time. So how long you've been on the bureau, how good is your payment history, and how much debt do you have? Those are really important for the scores and for the reports. Okay. Now we get to the real conversation of credit. Why is there so many myths around it? Why is this so similar to the fake finance gurus that we see so much of? And that's is that it really doesn't matter as much as you think. And like I said, I could go on 20 minutes about credit. I worked in an automotive dealership on the lending side for 3+ years. I've seen a lot of different scenarios when I was a new car manager, when I was actually in finance, working with banks and working with lenders to get people approved on cars. There's a lot of myths around it. And here's one that I really need to debunk. It doesn't matter how high your credit score is. In fact, when you're looking at lending, how much money a bank will actually give you, your credit score is number 4 on the list. Number 4 on the list. That's a big deal. The first thing they look at is income. You can have a 900 credit score, and if you make $0, unless you lie on your application, which is fraud, which is bank fraud. If you have a 900 credit score and 0 income, you get no loan. All right, that's the first thing. The second thing they look at is your debt to income ratio. So how much income do you have? What does your debt have? And what is this new loan? What will that add to it? And is it in line? Normally, they don't like you above 40% debt to income, 50% debt to income. It varies with banks. That's a general rule, right? Because after all of your expenses, you still got to eat. The banks assume you want to have fun. And if your debt to income is too high, you're going to take out more debt to have fun, and that's not good, right? So that's the second thing. So you got income, debt to income. Then there's loan to value. This is probably one of the biggest ones that they look at is loan to value, right? Because if something is worth 10, a bank's not going to give you 20 for it, generally speaking. Loan to value ratios usually go up to 120% on cars and houses. It just depends. I'm not a mortgage expert, but normally they won't loan too much more than 100% of its value, right? So whatever the appraisal comes back at, whatever the book values are, they're not going to be that flexible with you. So loan to value is number 3. Then the fourth thing they look at is credit. And I say that the fourth thing they look at because I've had experiences where all 3 of these were in line. They had good income, they had low debt to income, they had a big down payment for whatever they were buying, and their credit score was delicate, right? We're talking sub 600. right? All three of these things lined up, and they got the loan, no problem. And on top of that, they got an interest rate that was almost the same as a 900 credit score. So that's the thing, guys. Don't mess around with all this stuff. Like, enter debt conservatively, pay it off as quick as you can, because a credit score does not mean freedom. Like I said, if you don't make any money, they won't lend you any money. Like, and by the way, another big thing is like, put your kids on your credit card and blah, 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 blah. Don't do that, because there's a difference between credit card debt and installment loans, right? So just because your kid was on your credit card since he was 15 and maybe he has a long thing and nobody paid for it, like, first of all, he wasn't responsible for that debt. So if you defaulted on it, it wouldn't have helped him or hurt him. Okay. And the second thing is when he gets 18, he or she might have an 800 credit score, but they've never paid anything. So they're not going to get a prime rate, and they're not going to get a $50,000 loan. So it's ridiculous. And by the way, you can get a mortgage without credit score, and you can get rent. You can rent an apartment without a credit score. It's a little more difficult. And that's why I say a credit score is not bad. Just be smart with it, right? All right. So let's move on from that. Dre, I hope it helped you out. And if you have any more questions, like, leave them in the comments. The second thing that happened this week that I was like, whoa. As many of you know, been following, Bitcoin's been crazy. Ethereum's been crazy. I think there was a little correction. There was a lot of volatility in the market. And there's a lot of things going. Another bone to pick. Guys, cryptocurrency and stocks are not the same. You have these ICOs, initial coin offerings, and IPOs, initial public offerings, that are very, very different, right? Business stock is based on a company being profitable. There's government regulation. They're normally backed by businesses with assets. Well, excuse me. They are backed by business. Stocks are backed by businesses with assets. Coins are all clout. They're all hype. It's whatever the next dude will pay for it. And how stocks work at a very, macro level, 20,000 foot view level, is prices go up when more people are buying than selling, and prices go down when more people are selling than buying, right? So what we're seeing here is a lot of people holding onto their Bitcoin, like buying it in big chunks and holding onto it. Like when Bitcoin climbs, that's because a lot of people are buying it. They're like, oh, it's going to go up. Better buy. And then we see like it goes down. More people are scared. Less people are buying. Like, that's volatility, right? So the majority of a coin offering of crypto is clout. The second thing is functionality. Like, I only use Ethereum. I like to buy Ethereum because there's actually functionality behind it. Go check out my previous video on Ethereum and NFTs for that stuff. Speaking of NFTs, you guys are all familiar with the Charlie Bit My Finger, that video, taken off YouTube, minted as an NFT, sold for copious amounts of money. It was absolutely insane. This is actually something that I've talked a lot about, and I'm going to say it publicly here right now. Amazon bought MGM, right? MGM for $8.5 billion. Guys, that's bananas. The future of movie theaters are gone. I don't think they're going to be around. I don't know how long it'll take, 3 to 5 years, 5 to 7 years, but they're out, dude. Amazon bought MGM for that exact reason. Because they're going to start competing with HBO Max. They're going to start competing with Disney Plus. And by the way, HBO Max and Disney Plus have already done that. They've already released their signature movies on their respective streaming platforms for people to buy right away. It's a brilliant idea. Movie theaters are dead. Movie theaters are dead. Last thing that I thought was super interesting, and this will take up the last little bit of this, because I know you guys don't want to hear me all day, but I think this is a great one. Instagram in 2019 started an experiment where in an attempt to help with the mental health surrounding social media, right? It can be, social media is not the healthiest place for mental health, right? In fact, if you feel like you're bogged down, try a social media fast. In fact, a crazy story, I did a social media fast. The first social media fast I did was probably 3 years ago. And it was just bananas how, like, I didn't realize how addicted I was to social media. In fact, my wife, who's helping me behind the camera, tells me all the time that I need to do more social media fast. But anyway, 2019, Instagram decides to take away likes. Crazy enough, they found out that it didn't help anything, or like it wasn't material enough for them to say, hey, we're going away from likes, or we're going to keep them on. Likes or no likes, I get why likes are important from a creative standpoint, because you want to see what your fans like. You don't want to be posting stuff that they don't like. But I can also see from another side, like you don't want to be chasing likes either. So it's this weird balance that creatives have of making sure their content is liked by their fans and not chasing the likes, not putting so much intrinsic value in the likes. So what did they do? They left it up to us. So now you can decide if you want your likes to show or not. So tell me what you think, actually. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, because it's something that like I just found curious. I definitely think that I thought it was admirable that they were trying to fix that. But at the end of the day, it's kind of weird how it didn't really help at all. So we're going to have to figure that out. Tune in next week. Thank you so much for watching. If you got to this point, I appreciate you all. And until next week, I'm signing off. Thank you so much.